Hey guys, today I have the pleasure to host Josue. I don't think I need to introduce him. He's already a superstar. You can see his posts everywhere on LinkedIn, on YouTube as well, and he's back again. Hi Josue.
Great to be here. I appreciate you having me here, man.
Always glad to have time to discuss. I don't think we didn't have much time to talk during the Data and AI Summit, despite having this incredible presentation together where we talked about AI BI dashboard and Genie. And remember, we had almost 500 people, full room.
It was a pretty packed room, yeah. I mean, and honestly, I think you nailed that. That you did such a great job on the Genie portion. So.
And of course, you handled the AI BI part and also dashboarding, talked about Sigma and other dashboarding tools. You're here because we wanted to talk announcements and which advantage they can have for developers, engineers, or data scientists. And I wanted to have your opinion on what was the key announcement for if you couldn't choose only one. And then of course we will talk about the others. I know this one is a tough question.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to start off with which one was the biggest announcement, or that from
Yeah.
my perspective? So in that moment, I think it was Databricks one because I've worked before at places where not having a business user friendly interface for a lot of the hardcore developer work that the team was working on was a big pain, and it led to like, oh, we have to have this front end portal, we have to do this, we have to do that, where sometimes doing that would be a little bit overkill. And with Databricks one, the premise is, hey, you can build your Genie spaces, you can have your AI BI dashboards, you can have your applications serve for your business users without really having to invest time in that business friendly interface. So I think that was a big win for that. I will say, interestingly enough, Lakebase is probably the second one, except at the moment that Lakebase was announced, I wasn't really that excited. I thought it's like, oh, great, we got Postgres, and which is a good thing, but I was a little bit like, I don't care so much about it. But as I got to spend more time researching and really understanding, okay, this is the potential that it has, and how does it work with the Unity catalog overall, I'm excited for Lakebase. Probably that's the second spot right there.
And okay, let's go for the third one as well, since whenever I have a podium, it's like three places.
Well, I think third one, I think Agent Bricks, except to be honest, that thing should be called Databricks Agents, not Agent Bricks. So I'm going to keep on calling it Databricks Agents, but I think that it's an area where Databricks needed to catch up on. And because, you have the Databricks Playground, which is great for building if you feel very comfortable around coding. And I think that Agent Bricks or Databricks Agents makes it easier to build without feeling overwhelming, without the code feeling overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think for this year, again, this is my personal opinion. Databricks went on the edge of pushing for simplicity and easy of use. You mentioned the Databricks one, which is a very cool and simple interface where you can interact with your Genie, dashboards, apps, a bunch of other things are coming there. But also you mentioned the Agent Bricks, because we know that Databricks has a lot of awesome features like vector search. Putting them together requires some knowledge.
Yes.
While for Agent Bricks, it's mainly just drag and drop and you're good to go. Like you just choose the right agent, whether like gonna extract some analysis or maybe do a lot of things. This is, I think, cool. Plus, of course, the announcement of Lakeflow Designer as well. That's why I wanted to mention like
Yeah.
this ease of use. Like you can build your pipeline quickly. I've tried it few days ago, and it was just amazing. Like you just need to drag and drop, give like it will build some SQL code for you, filter, change in branches. The experience is just amazing. This is a Postgre, managed Postgre, but not only Postgre, because we're decoupling the storage from the compute, adding the branches, things you can't do easily if you're using just a regular Postgre. And also this instant startup, this is super cool because at the end you'll be only paying for what you will be using, and integration of Apache Iceberg within the platform. Like since the acquisition of Tabular, we were waiting what would Databricks announce, and we had it finally.
I'm just so happy about the two things. I'm very happy about like the whole iceberg thing, mainly because I wanted that whole conversation about Delta versus iceberg to just die. I'm so over it. My official stance is that most businesses don't care about whether it's iceberg or Delta. Some do, and I have respect for that, but most don't. So I'm very happy for that to just be settled. So it's less of a vendor A or vendor B saying, "Hey, we support this, but we have more support, but we have more support." I kind of I'm over that conversation, so I'm excited for that. I will say Lakeflow too. Maybe that's perhaps my fourth. And the reason is like with Lakeflow, obviously I was a longtime critic of Delta Live tables, and I think Lakeflow has addressed about 85% of the things that I didn't like about Delta Live tables, now called Spark Declarative Pipelines. So I'm happy about that. And Designer too, I was part of the technical council on Lakeflow. And so I got to see even some of the early drafts of Designer. So I'm very excited to see it all go through the end and just see that shift from Databricks from being known as just the platform for highly technical people to being the platform that's both for highly technical people as well as less technical but still knowledgeable folks too. So
And since you mentioned Lakeflow pipelines, or what you call like LDP, so I think one of the first or most important things is how LDP, or like Spark Declarative Pipeline, is now open source and will be part of Apache Spark 4.0, if I'm not wrong. And the second thing is that, as you mentioned, the experience has been completely revamped. I've tried DLT since it was released maybe 3 years ago, if I'm not wrong. And the new experience is completely different. First of all, we have this deep integration with Unity catalog. You can have files that can define whether you're gonna be building a Python pipeline or SQL pipeline, whether it's gonna be ingestion or transformation. And while building your pipeline, like those tables are created for you, and you can see the pipeline in being populated for you. You can click on the table; it will show you a sample of the data, the constraints, the quality you did build on the top of this specific data. You can deploy like Databricks asset bundles from the workspace within the same pipeline.
yeah, and it really, I think it's about that developer experience because that's what the Delta Live tables lacked. And when I say 85% of the things that I had problems with have been addressed, and a lot of it was that you had to have with Delta Live tables, you had to have multiple screens to get anything done really. So what was supposed to be a unified experience was really a disparate experience. I think Lakeflow has made great strides in improving that, with the error handling, with really the organization. So I went from telling people don't do anything in Delta Life tables unless you really have to saying, hey, I think Spark declarative pipelines is the future. There's still some things that I have my disagreements on, but it's good enough now that I think that it's going to continue to get better in the future. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and for those who are interested, there we will like leave in the description of this video. There is a session that was done at the Data and AI Summit, going through all those innovations, explained in 40 minutes by the PM of Lakeflow Declarative Pipeline. And what about DBSQL? What was your maybe key takeaways?
Well, as you know, I like to do a lot of testing on performance. Honestly, there was little to me that was new about about DB at Summit, just because I do so much testing. I've seen the progress over time in terms of performance. I had recently done some testing that I published the week of Databricks Summit. I, I was surprised in a good way. I was pleasantly surprised as to the cost to performance that Databricks SQL offered. Not so much of the big data size, or like the 5 billion rows and more. I have seen that before from Databricks, so I knew that Databricks was probably, I expected Databricks to be the most affordable option there. But when it came to the smaller data sets, Databricks did very, very well, and it was a very pleasant surprise. So I know there were like a 20% reduction in performance cost that was announced.
About AI BI, maybe let's first start with dashboard, and then we can move to Genie.
Yeah, so I think there are two sides I think it was very important for me to see. One is obviously Genie, I think was the show stealing thing. As I spoke to many folks, there were two things that stood out to them in terms of excitement. One was Databricks One, especially for those that have been around Databricks for a while. For those folks that were newer to the Databricks ecosystem, and even some that are just beginning to try out a few more capabilities, Genie was overwhelmingly one of the topics that came up the most. And it was very nice to see a lot of people really excited as to what it can do, wanting to understand what it can't do. And I think, as I would have conversations with folks as to, hey, this is what it can do, the reception was very, very good. I think, again, I always go back to Ken Wong's statement as to, he calls Genie an intern that you slowly train to know more and more and more as to how it should present the data, what types of data you care about, and you go from intern level knowledge to junior analyst or a little bit more than that. So it's pretty awesome stuff. And AIBI dashboards, I've been a hard critic before of dashboards, and I've seen it grow over the last year and a half. And I think that just a few days ago, I think there were some new announcements that I haven't gotten to try out yet. And I see the team continue to develop that. Still hungry to make it a better product. And I recently put out a post saying, hey, this is where AIBI dashboards is at today. This is what it needs to do to compete with some of the other BI tools out there, and this is what it needs to do to set itself aside or be the creme of the creme when it comes to dashboards. Again, is it a full-blown replacement for other dashboarding tools? Not in every scenario, but can it be a replacement for half of your dashboard needs? Yes. If you're a smaller organization, perhaps that you don't really have that many externally facing dashboards, I would say it could potentially replace most of your dashboard. It can be the right tool for most of your dashboarding needs. So.
And also, this is part of what I was saying at the beginning. Simplicity is the keyword, because you know that we did, or like Databricks did announce UC metrics, where you can define your semantic at the catalog level, and then you can integrate those metrics with Genie. And this is the cool thing, is now you can define a lot of things using the UI, which means no longer need to go and ask how I can join those data together. You can now just go and declare the joins on your table to enhance Genie. You can add synonyms. You can do a lot of things just using the UI and all your business users. And you will also be able to build the dashboard and integrate them in the Databricks one. And again, there is no additional cost, just the compute. You're sure that they won't be doing anything wrong with the data because they will only have the read-only permission.
Yeah.
Thanks to Unity Catalog. Since we mentioned the catalog, what was your main takeaway from the announcement?
Really, the biggest thing was I was looking for that Iceberg integration to be better with the Unity catalog, because you bought, what's the name of the company? You bought Tabular 1 year ago, right? And obviously you won't implement everything overnight. But I think that's what a lot of people were expecting, but obviously that's an unrealistic expectation. So it was good to see Iceberg becoming more and more integrated for those folks that care about that Iceberg integration, because, for a little bit, right, Iceberg was like that second cousin, that distant cousin that you had it inside of Databricks, but it still didn't have necessarily that first class citizen experience as Delta, because obviously Delta has been part of Databricks for a long time and Iceberg more recently, and you want to make sure all the pieces work together, right? So I think seeing it become more and more of a first class citizen, I think that was a big win. And I think there were a few pieces on interoperability that I don't remember off the top of my head, but sounds like Databricks is spending a lot of time and resources in making it more interoperable. From my conversation that I had with James Malone, who is a product, I think I forget his official title, but he's a product leader, as well as even even with David Meyer, right, who is SVP of product. One of the things that they both said to me in some of the interviews that I did with them is that they want Databricks to win your workloads. So it has to be less of, you can only use our compute, but how can we help you have the right governance while still allowing you to use the compute that is best for the workloads that you want to run. We want to earn your money on our workloads, basically.
You know that they announced a lot of features with the Unity catalog, but I thought about a scenario that I think a few years ago would take us maybe a lot of time to do it, while now everything is automated. And I thought about like, what if I have some customers' data with sensitive PII? You can just enable like the data classification that will go and automatically
Scan
scan
your whole
the table.
table, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And tag the PII. And because of ABAC, you had already implemented some masking functions with a specific tag. You know for sure once your data is inserted, automatically tagged, and which means if I go and query the data, this data will be masked for me because I'm not allowed to view those sensitive data. And again, because I keep maybe doing merges, updates, drops on this data, the predictive optimization will go and automatically scan my table, optimize it, vacuum it, run the analyze to know when I query this data, I will have the most optimized query execution plan. And if I am not doing the partitions but clustering my table, I will find the right clustering keys. I think I may have listed 7 steps that I had to do in the past, and now the system is handling those steps for me on my behalf.
You can see, is this really working for me, for my benefit or not?
Exactly. And this is amazing because I had to do maybe handle them, maybe do at least those tasks maybe once per month. Now I can maybe have those 7 hours back to do something else.
Yeah. I think again, like I shared it, I think you're seeing Databricks move from the, hey, we're just pure technical, we're only for technical folks, to, hey, we will meet you where we're at. But we will still cater to the technical folks. We're still cater to the less technical folks, and we'll try to create a middle ground as well for everyone.
DBSQL is getting better and better, but I think Databricks also adding more features to match what people used to have on the legacy data warehouses. And here I'm talking about stored procedures. Maybe half of the people will hate me.
I was gonna say I don't care for stored procedures, but yeah, sure.
I mean, when you're doing migrations, you don't want to change your entire code. You just want to make sure that you can keep some of the functions you had, and like having stored procedures can be super super important. Cursive cities can also be interesting. Temp tables, collations, lake bridge.
Yeah. I have one for you. As some may know, I have my misgivings with observability, right? And I know there were a little bit of announcements around observability, and really my misgivings with observability is that there can be a lot of fluff sometimes, and sometimes there's a lot of very good, real business value things around observability. So I'm curious to hear from your take. What are your thoughts on the observability related announcements at the Databricks Summit?
Good question. I mean, I'm happy because you know that I delivered the session on observability during the Data and AI Summit, and I will put the link in the description. Over the past 2 years, we did announce system tables, and for me that was a game changer. Like in the past, you had to enable something called verbose audit logs. There was like a bunch of JSON file that you have to parse and push, then store them on a delta table, query them. It was like a lot of you had a lot of steps to do. Now they are just available for you, a bunch of tables. And in order to simplify this part, Databricks did release a bunch of dashboards that you can import and start tracking the consumption, understanding the percentage of usage of your compute. You can find what is the most expensive workflow, or the workflow that fails a lot, or the one that runs the most. Those dashboards are not the only one. They also release some features which is super super important and tightly linked to system tables. It's called serverless budget policies, because we know that people will now more often use serverless, but you need to make sure that those people are tagging their resources to understand at the end of the month or the end of the week how much this project or this use case cost me. And in order to do this, you had to have a tool because people tend to forget to add tags. But with the budget policies, you can just say, hey, this group of people, like engineers, whenever they're gonna create or use a serverless instance, it will be automatically tagged with their business unit. So whether you're using, I don't know, SQL warehouse, a workflow, serverless notebook, or maybe a model serving, it will be automatically tagged with your business unit.
You know what's funny is when you're talking about, for example, like budget policies, I don't think so much of it as observability. I don't know if I would maybe call it governance, which probably has related to observability, but I would say cost management versus the data observability. But sorry, me picking here, but I'm like, hey, okay, for me that's a little bit of a topic. Anything cost governance, I think you know that I'm very much of a hey, know your cost, manage your cost, control your costs, which by the way, I'm very excited about all the changes in budget policies, and I did a video on that. I think it's very exciting stuff. So
what you mentioned is completely true. You need to put those tags, then use system tables where you're gonna have those tags being used, and then with the dashboards you'll be able to track the costs. If you want, you can build your own dashboard if you have time to do the extra mile that maybe Databricks is not doing because you have some specific needs that those dashboards are not fulfilling. In the past 2 years, a lot of things has been added, and the last feature I will talk about is the alerts. Like it's called budget alerts. Again, we always keep budget. And basically, here what you can do using the tags that you have probably added, you can go to your account console and specify an alert. You will specify the budget you will put for the specific team. You're gonna specify the name of the tag. Then you're gonna specify the people that will receive an alert once you're above. So we have a bunch of guardrails to protect you from overspending, and also if you're overspending, how you can optimize.
awesome stuff.
Did I convince you a bit?
Yeah, I again, I have just different perspective on observability. All the stuff that you're saying, that's awesome stuff. I love all of that. But anyway, that's good. Is gonna be a mute point. It just in data space, in the data space, you have so much. You can be using the same word, and you can have 10 definitions depending on the vendor. One time, I was actually talking with Franco, and I think we are talking about semantic modeling, and we had a brief conversation as to, well, it depends on who you're asking what that means. And I think even a conversation that I had with Joe Reese too, we were also saying like, what does that really mean?
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think we did summarize almost all the announcements.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I feel like we covered good stuff. I think those are areas I think we feel very comfortable talking through, and I think it's good stuff.
And for the folks who are watching us, make sure to subscribe to Josue YouTube channel. He does publish a lot of interesting things. I'm pretty sure you've seen them, but just put a thumbs up and subscribe. That would be boost him to make maybe more content.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josue. It was a real pleasure to talk with you. Looking forward to meeting you very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you so very much again. I appreciate you having me here.